Lindsay Jean Wagner was born on June 22, 1949 in Los Angeles, California at the tail end of the post-war baby boom. Her parents, William Knowles Wagner, a professional photographer, and Marilyn Louise Wagner, née Ball, a schoolteacher turned homemaker, divorced when Lindsay was 7 years old. The split was amicable but life-altering. Marilyn moved with Lindsay and her younger sister Randy to Eagle Rock, a northeast Los Angeles neighborhood near Pasadena, where they lived modestly in a small house on a hill overlooking the city. Lindsay has often described herself as a painfully shy, dyslexic child who struggled in traditional school settings. She reversed letters, had difficulty reading out loud, and was frequently teased. To escape the anxiety of classrooms, she retreated into nature and imagination. She spent countless hours in the nearby arroyo, creating elaborate stories with imaginary friends, climbing trees, and observing wildlife. Those solitary years forged a deep sensitivity and intuitive nature that would later become central to both her acting and her spiritual work. At 13, Marilyn remarried Ted Ball, a contractor and former Marine who became a stabilizing father figure. The family moved to Portland, Oregon for several years before returning to California. In Portland, Lindsay attended David Douglas High School briefly, but the family's return to Southern California placed her at Flintridge Sacred Heart Academy, a Catholic all-girls school in La Cañada. She hated the rigid uniforms and rules, but discovered drama class as a refuge. Acting allowed her to step outside her shyness and inhabit other personalities. She graduated in 1967 and, against her mother's hopes that she would attend college immediately, decided to pursue modeling and acting. At 18, Lindsay was discovered by a talent agent while working as a department store model in Los Angeles. Tall 5'9", with striking cheekbones, luminous blue-green eyes, and natural blonde hair, she quickly found work in print and television commercials. She appeared in ads for Ford, Breck Shampoo, and Max Factor, and was a regular face on game shows as a hostess or letter turner in the pre-Vanna White era. In 1969, she enrolled at the University of Oregon for one term, but the pull of Hollywood was stronger. She transferred to MT, San Antonio College in Walnut, California, studying drama and began taking acting classes with coach Howard Fine. Her first professional acting credit came in 1971, a 2-episode guest spot on the NBC series Adam 12. Small parts followed on Owen Marshall, Counselor at Law and Night Gallery, a Rod Serling-hosted anthology. The same year, she played a small but memorable role as a nurse in the Robert Wise medical thriller Two People Opposite Peter Fonda. More importantly, in 1971 she signed a 7-year contract with Universal Studios, the classic studio system's last gasp. Universal saw in her a wholesome yet sensual beauty reminiscent of a young Grace Kelly and began grooming her for television and supporting film roles. Under contract, Lindsay appeared in a string of Universal television movies and series throughout the early 1970s. The Bold Ones, The New Doctors 1972. The FBI 1972. Marcus Welby, M.D. Multiple episodes, 1972-1975. The Rockford Files 1974 pilot episode, playing a character killed off in the opening minutes, an in-joke among fans for decades. Her big break arrived in 1975 when producer Harve Bennett and writer Kenneth Johnson were casting a 2-part episode of The $6 Million Man titled The Bionic Woman. They needed an actress to play Jaime Sommers, a professional tennis player and former fiancé of Colonel Steve Austin, Lee Majors, who suffers a skydiving accident and is rebuilt with bionic limbs and an ear. The role was originally intended to be a one-off tragedy. Jaime was to die at the end of the second episode. Lindsay's audition was quiet but electric. She read opposite Lee Majors with such natural warmth and vulnerability that the chemistry was immediate. The episodes aired in March 1975, The Secret of Bigfoot crossover notwithstanding, and became the highest-rated episodes of the series to date. Fan mail poured in demanding Jaime be brought back. Writers hastily rewrote her death as bionic rejection that could be overcome, and in May 1976 The Bionic Woman premiered as its own series on ABC. The Bionic Woman ran for 3 seasons, 2 on ABC 1976-1977, and 1 on NBC 1977-1978. After a famous network bidding war, Lindsay won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series in 1977, beating out veterans Angie Dickinson and Kate Jackson, and becoming one of the youngest winners in the category at age 27. The show was groundbreaking, the first primetime series to feature a female superhero with superhuman strength, speed, and hearing. Jaime Sommers was not a sidekick, she was the lead. She taught school, worked covert missions for the OSI, and maintained close friendships, especially with Oscar Goldman's secretary Peggy Callahan. The series balanced high-stakes action with gentle humanism. Jaime frequently tried to solve problems without violence, reflecting Lindsay's own pacifist leanings. Behind the scenes, however, the schedule was grueling. Lindsay has spoken openly about collapsing from exhaustion and developing ulcers. She fought with producers to reduce the violence and to give Jaime more emotional depth. She insisted on doing many of her own stunts, including the famous slow-motion running sequences that required her to jog in place while the camera rolled at high speed. Merchandising exploded. Bionic Woman lunchboxes, dolls, one of the best-selling dolls of the 1970s, board games, novels, and even a memorable Kenner action figure with bionic grip and a skin-colored mission purse. Lindsay became one of the most recognizable women on the planet, especially to children who saw in Jaime a strong yet kind role model. When the Bionic Woman ended in 1978, a victim of network cost-cutting, Lindsay consciously stepped back from series television. She was determined not to be typecast and wanted time for family. In 1976, while filming the series, she had fallen in love with music publisher and former stuntman Michael Brandon. They married in December 1976 and divorced in 1979. In 1981, she married stuntman and second-unit director Henry Kingi, whom she had met on the Bionic set. They had two sons, Dorian, born 1982, and Alex, born 1984. During the 1980s and early 1990s, Lindsay became the queen of television movies, appearing in over 40 made-for-TV films. Notable titles include The Incredible Journey of Dr. Meg Laurel, 1979, her first post-Bionic starring role as a big-city doctor returning to the Appalachians. Scruples, 1980 miniseries. Callie and Son, 1981. Princess Daisy, 1983 miniseries. I Want to Live, 1983, a remake of the Susan Hayward classic, earning her another Emmy nomination. Martin's Day, 1985 theatrical film with Richard Harris. Child's Cry, 1986, about child abuse. The Return of the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, 1987 reunion film. Bionic Showdown, 1989. Shattered Dreams, 1990, based on the true story of domestic violence survivor Charlotte Fetters. Critics noted that Lindsay gravitated toward roles dealing with social issues, spousal abuse, child abuse, cancer, alcoholism, and the rights of the disabled. She used her celebrity to shine light on topics networks normally shied away from. The relentless pace of television movies took its toll. In the late 1980s, Lindsay suffered a series of health crises, chronic fatigue, digestive issues, and what she later described as a complete nervous system burnout. Western medicine offered little relief. Desperate, she began exploring alternative healing modalities, acupuncture, herbal medicine, homeopathy, and energy work. A pivotal moment came in 1987, when she experienced what she calls a spontaneous healing during a meditation retreat. She felt a surge of energy that dissolved years of pain. The experience was so profound that she began studying with Native American elders, Sufi teachers, Buddhist monks, and holistic physicians. She trained in biofeedback, became a certified hypnotherapist, and co-developed a technique called Quiet the Mind and Open the Heart acupressure. In 1990, she ended her marriage to Henry Kingi. They remain close co-parents. In 1990, she met construction executive and former stunt performer Lawrence Mortorf at a spiritual retreat. They married quietly in 1990 and divorced in 1993. In the 1990s, Lindsay largely withdrew from heavy acting schedules to focus on healing and writing. She co-authored with Robert M. Klein 2 books. Lindsay Wagner's New Beauty, The Acupressure Facelift, 1986. The High Road to Health, A Vegetarian Cookbook, 1994 with Arian Spade. She created a successful line of acupressure tools and facial kits sold on QVC, where she became one of the network's most trusted personalities, appearing regularly for over 25 years. She served on the board of Teen Talking Circles, formerly the Daughters Sisters Project, worked with battered women's shelters, and became a spokesperson for the National Stroke Association after her mother suffered a major stroke. Though she never returned to weekly series television, Lindsay continued selective acting work. Warehouse 13 2010-2014, recurring as Dr. Vanessa Calder. Grey's Anatomy 2016, guest role. NCIS 2016, guest role as Barbara Bishop. Death Stranding 2019 video game, voice and likeness as the musician. She also appeared in 3 more Bionic reunion films. Bionic Ever After, 1994, in which Jaime and Steve finally marry. Numerous convention appearances where fans line up for hours to meet the real Bionic Woman. In 2018, she received a star on the Palm Springs Walk of Stars, and in 2022, TV Guide ranked The Bionic Woman as one of the 50 greatest TV shows of all time. Now in her mid-70s, Lindsay divides her time between her home in Oregon near the Cieslaw National Forest and Los Angeles. She leads women's retreats, teaches online courses in craniosacral unwinding and emotional release, and continues occasional acting and speaking engagements. She is grandmother to 4 grandchildren from son Dorian and his wife, former actress Mimi Kuzik's daughter Calliope. Son Alex works in film production. In interviews, Lindsay emphasizes that Jaime Sommers' greatest power was never bionic strength but her heart. People always ask if I get tired of being called the Bionic Woman, she says. I never do. Jaime represented the possibility that we can be powerful and still deeply caring. That message is more needed now than ever. Lindsay Wagner's journey from a shy, dyslexic girl who found her voice through acting to a global icon of female strength to a respected elder in the holistic healing community stands as one of the most graceful evolutions in entertainment history. She took the limitations of typecasting and transformed them into a platform for teaching gentleness, resilience, and the integration of body, mind, and spirit. As she often closes her workshops, we are all bionic in our own way. We all have the capacity to rebuild ourselves stronger, wiser, and more loving than before. And for millions around the world who grew up watching her leap over fences in slow motion, Lindsay Wagner remains, forever, the woman who proved that true power sounds like a soft heartbeat and runs on compassion.